It may not be coming home, but at least you can welcome us into your home with this week's edition of the Respec Ramblings podcast. With me, Alex Donaldson, with Tom Orry, who has left Lidl to grace us with his presence here, and Dave Breens and Rebecca Jones. We've got a four-pack this week.
Hello.
How you all doing?
You all right?
Yeah.
I'd rather be in Lidl, if I'm honest.
At least it's not as warm as it has been now, so that's good.
Is
Just see
Lidl-
myself on camera.
You've got a hoodie on.
Or something.
Oh my
I can't
God.
believe it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's a bit extreme. I've still got the air
That's on
conditioner
brand, isn't it? Is that one piece?
It is one piece. It is on brand, yeah. It's like, I can't get away from it, honestly. I've ruined my own life with it.
No, is it the thing everyone associates you with?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
We
My
haven't.
bad.
How do you feel about the Netflix one?
It's all right. I think it's okay.
That's what they used for the quote on the poster, didn't they? I'm pretty sure
Dave
they said
Breens,
that, yeah.
it's all right. And
all
people are
right.
like, oh my God, it must be decent. Yeah. I was, for the record, for like 3 years, I was making jokes about how it's going to like ruin my life because everyone's going to be like, is this the shit you like, Dave? And I'm going to be like, oh, yes, it is. Fuck. But no, it was actually decent. So when they say, is this just shit you like, Dave? I'm like, yeah, it is.
Have you? Because it's obviously led to the Lego. Have you bought any of the Lego?
No. I feel like it's because it's Netflix Lego and Netflix is just all right. The live action stuff.
Love a good Lego pirate ship though. So there's some nice. That's a good synergy there. Lego pirate ships are the classic.
Go on.
I'm glad it's good. As someone because I was the guy who was like, give Cowboy Bebop a second season. Because I was like, I felt like if they'd given that a second set of episodes, it might have significantly improved. Because I didn't think it was total shite. I thought it was okay. But I think One Piece is undoubtedly better. But I wish Cowboy had gone for another season just to sort of see what they did. And that poor girl who got cast and then was in the stinger at the end of the last episode and then never got to be in the show properly. young actor as well.
Netflix has done a lot of people dirty in a variety of ways.
Well, we will see what happens with this Persona TV series.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit because we have got a bit of Persona to talk about today. How about you, Tom? What's your week been like?
Not watching anime, whatever it is. Burn. Yeah, just mostly just doing like school runs and working in it. That's my life. Get ready for school, go to school, come back, work, get the kids from school, cook dinner, collapse.
You won't be having to take anyone to school soon, though, but then you'll be having to
It's
complain
even
about
worse
the
than
amount
now,
of
isn't it?
noise.
It's even worse. I'd much rather have the pain of the school run than have them here for 6 weeks. I love my children.
You love them when they're not in the house.
I just love them when they're sitting still, watching TV.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Actually, watching an iPad is better because then I can use the TV. Complete silence watching something.
How long does that last for, on average?
2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think yeah. Well, someone who doesn't have to worry about that, Rebecca, how you doing? How's your week been?
Yeah, good. No, I've been to the cinema 3 times this week just to take advantage of the air conditioning, as I was saying just before we started recording. So that's been nice.
What did you see?
I watched Evil Dead Burn and then Obsession, and then I liked Evil Dead Burn so much I went to see that again because it was just really hot. And I missed the second post-credit scene the first time, and I was
It
like,
was really
literally...
hot, as in the film is hot, or it was a hot day?
It was a hot day, and the film is about fire. So, like, in a way, psychologically, it maybe doesn't improve your sensation of it being really too warm. But
I didn't love the last Evil Dead. I know everyone else loved it. The one
I
with
liked Rise.
it's the one in the apartment, right?
Yeah,
And
Evil Dead Rise was the last in 2023, I think.
I didn't love the last one, but this one
I
is
thought it was all right, but I really like this one. I think it's getting mixed reviews, but I personally thought it was very, very good. Maybe top 3 Evil Dead films of all time. 'Cause nothing's going to beat 2 An Army of Darkness, but could potentially, I think, beat the rest. So yeah,
Did anyone
I
arm
recommend
get
it.
sliced off hideously? Does that happen?
That
The
sort
things
of.
get good.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that I'm very bad at remembering who makes stuff, right? I'm very bad across everything. Apart from directors, certain directors I know, but games, I couldn't tell you who worked on any game. I know it's terrible. I just don't, it never goes into my head. So when people are like, oh, the such and such is making this, I'm like, doesn't means nothing to me. But the guy, one of the people that made one of the Evil Deads made that new Mummy film, right? And he's got his
Lee
name on it.
Cronin.
And I'm like,
Yes.
why have they put this random guy's name on this poster? Because I have
The new one. Oh,
no
I
idea
thought for a
who that
second you were
is.
talking about the terrible Tom Cruise one.
No. But I've
No,
been
the Lee
meaning to
Cronin
watch
one,
that
yeah.
because I watch terrible films all the time now because it's just what I do. But then
Terrible horror films in
it
particular.
looks slightly too hideous even for me to watch. I don't know. But
I
no, I've
haven't seen it yet,
so.
but yeah. If I do, I'll let you know.
Your cinema adventure to get out of the heat was very different to mine because I went to see Toy Story and Moana.
Oh, how were they?
Moana shouldn't exist. And I love the first film, and I even thought the second was okay. But I just don't know what. Well, I do. We all know why this live action remake exists. It's to feed the declining ego of The Rock. But it's got no ideas. Like, I will actually be one of those people. I'll defend like live action like Cinderella and things like that because
Cinderella's good. What's that?
At least, I mean, they at least have ideas.
Beauty and the Beast was good. I maintain.
Beauty and the Beast too, and Aladdin as well. Like, you know, you say what you will, there's no replacing Robin Williams, but Will Smith comes in and does a Will Smith version of that character, which is fine. Whereas what you've got here is just this weird irony of they designed this amazing character and they based him on Dwayne Johnson's wrestling persona. And then they managed to get him to do the voice and they were thrilled about it. And then he's done it in live action and it's like he can't harness that energy anymore.
Oh no, is it a bit of an Elvis comes third in Elvis impersonator contest type of situation?
Yeah, sort of. Like he's obviously, you know, he's not that big anymore, so he's wearing the suit, and the suit looks sort of crap. The hair looks terrible.
He's wearing a suit.
He's wearing
like a
muscle suit.
CGI'd him completely to be huge. Then I don't get it because one of the things I find odd is that in the cartoon version and the CGI version, he's a big wide guy, right? He's massive. And then I thought that's why he didn't look as big, because it was just The Rock. But if it's not actually even him, fully, then I don't get it.
I don't get why they CGI the live action remake so much.
And put Rock's fat head on him. Look, he's probably bigger than The Rock. Is that true? That. He's being quiet, but he's just very modest. He won't admit to it.
I mean, I might take the hoodie off in a minute. All right,
that's for the after hours one, surely.
Yeah,
it depends how much.
Yeah, you got to pay money for that. And Toy Story 5, fine. It's a bit like 4. It is like they finished that story with the third one. However, there's a couple of moments in it where I felt a little twinge of emotion about kids today growing up with tablets and being absolutely horrendous to each other online. So it touches on all that stuff.
Damn.
But yeah, neither exactly lit my head on fire. I'm gonna go and see the Odyssey at some point. I was trying to get IMAX 70mm tickets, and they're like sold out in the UK for like a solid month, a month, which is insane, really. So it might just have to be digital IMAX, which sucks. But there you go, better than a normal screen anyway. Right, video games. How about them? Video games. We've got a few news stories to talk about this week. So I guess let's just jump right into it. So I feel like every week we've done this podcast, we've started off with a story that's vaguely a bummer, but here we go. There's been an interesting story about the Japan Online Game Association, which ran a survey of developers. And it came back and said 100% of Japanese devs that were surveyed are using generative AI tools. Now, to be clear, this survey covers online-based games of all types. So that's PC, console, mobile, web browser, everything. And obviously, it only consists of these Japanese-based devs and the ones that they actually chose to survey. But it's a pretty big cross-section. And it's nevertheless huge numbers. Literally, as I say, 100% said they were using it. 94% said they were using Google's Gemini. 84%, sorry, said they were using Claude, and 76% said they were using Microsoft's Copilot. So yeah, it's for all the fight. It does feel a bit like with the disk thing. There's a foregone conclusion emerging. Don't know if you've got any thoughts on this.
We'll be ripped apart by saying that. We can't accept it. And like I'm kind of like, because my son is secondary school age, right? And he's like, his iPad, which is school, they all have iPads at school. And they've got all the AI tools on it, right? And they kind of like don't discourage it. And I'm like, and you can see it because he showed me some of the stuff that some other kids did, and they've done reports, right? And it's so obviously like they put in, write a 400-word article on Joan of Arc, whatever, right? And it's so obvious to me that that's what they're doing. And that for my main issue with AI is that it's so like, even if you take out the kind of what is art and are you even making art if you're just telling us that you're clearly not, but it's so limiting to development that I don't get how you could look at it and go, yes, this is good for the future. Because I'm getting my son, and it's going to sound like I'm like a horrendous parent, but I'm getting him to write some reviews over the summer, not to publish, but I want him to do something that actually he thinks about what he's doing. And because he tells me, I say I'm working on this, he's like, I could do that better than you. I'm going, all right, then fine. You can try and write. Like, he's never written more than like a couple hundred words in his life. Like 1,000 words, it'd be like almost impossible. But I'm going to get him to write some actual reviews without using AI to show him that actually this isn't that easy. And also that he tries to do some actual thinking about stuff. Because I think that's the main issue I have with a lot of the AI stuff, is that you just give something else your ability to think about anything, right? I mean, the fact that it's 100% of devs in this survey, I mean, I'd be interested to see if it's that different if they surveyed a lot of big American devs, right? It probably isn't really, if you think about what they're actually using.
I think it would be a bit.
It depends which studios, right? Because if it's like, if they're opting, if they see it as, it's like they shouldn't be using it and they want to make it clear they're not, and then you get more uptake of people answering to say, no, we're not doing it. But it's this thing like, how would it change? I don't know. Like, is it ever going to be less than this? Because unless it actually affects sales, I guess, and most people don't have a clue that this is happening. Like we do, because we're like in the bubble of everything going on. But outside of it, like you say the average Joe who doesn't walk into a shop and don't exist, but buys the game without thinking about it. They just know it's the next Call of Duty. They don't know it's got AI posters in it, do they? They have no clue.
No, I mean, I will say, I think there's a difference. There's a cultural difference emerging where in Japan, it just isn't a hot topic issue like it is here. They are, generally speaking, just like, it's a tool. And also, I think the interesting thing here is when you look at the tools that are being used, it's like 76% saying they use Copilot. I have to imagine a lot of that is chemical bullshit. You know, that's built into Word, that's built into Outlook, you know, a lot built into Teams. I mean, God, being completely honest, like, I would never use AI for anything creative. You will never read a single shred of AI generated text on this website or see an AI generated image. However, I had to send an invoice yesterday and I opened Word, and when I opened Word, it came up with the Copilot sidebar, and I'd never done it before, but I was like, I wonder if this will work. And so on a blank document, I just typed into the Copilot thing, can you generate me an invoice? The invoice is to this company. It's for this amount. The services rendered was this, and my bank account details are this. And I pressed go, and then I tabbed off to do something else. And when I tabbed back, there was just a completed invoice. And I was like, okay. I sort of, so I sort of see the...
We're done. I'm leaving this podcast in protest.
So I sort of, but that's what I mean. Like, if devs are using it for that, if devs are using it, you know, in let's say Capcom are using it and they're using it in all their email workflow and stuff like that in terms of staying across the teams, then I'm sort of like, okay, great.
It's the artistry bit, right? I think that people have the big issue with. That's the main issue that I think all the AI use is like seen as terrible. And I agree, is that when you've got games being made where all the concept art is AI generated, then it starts to make you think, right, what is this? Like, is this actually is this what we want to be supporting, paying money for, etc.? And when you see it, and it just looks shit, right? When you're playing a game and you get a poster on the wall and it's like clearly just been generated and has had no effort put into it whatsoever. Or like with COD, you had all those, was it the badges or the whatever it was?
Yeah, they
They
looked terrible.
emblems.
They were AI generated. It just looks, particularly, I think it looks much worse when it's a massive game, right? Because you think the amount of money they're spending on this thing, and then you're paying for this, what is called slop, right? And I think some games, like we had Expedition 33, got the name wrong, haven't I?
Yeah, Cloud Obscure, yeah.
Cloud Obscure, for some reason, couldn't remember it. Like, they admitted to using it, right? But I think they got away with it a bit because it was a small
But it was
team,
so
right?
beloved. It was so beloved as
Yeah.
well. Because actually, I think that's where the danger is. It's been proved on Steam that there's a correlation between if you have the AI disclosure on your game, you will sell less copies. But the people it tends to punish, if you've got an AI disclosure on Assassin's Creed, it probably doesn't make that much of a difference because in sheer volume, if you lose 50,000 people to drop in the ocean, but if you're a smaller indie game and you lose 2,000 people, you might have lost a huge chunk of your audience.
Yeah, that potentially is the audience of the smaller indie games. So, I mean, I'd be interested to know if this survey included Japanese indie devs, because I know that there has been quite a big pushback in Japanese indie spaces against AI use, which I think is maybe the big kind of cultural difference there is that, yeah, this does tally with what I've been hearing, that like bigger studios is pretty much a non-issue at this point. But I know like a lot of Japanese indie devs and indie creators in other media as well are really pushing back against AI to the point of doing like hand-printed zines again. So, I mean, it's just the ex-academic in me wants to have a look at the methodology in detail of this of this report. It would be interesting.
Yeah, I did. Well, I looked into it, but you could only buy it in paper format, and it was also like nearly 50 quid by the time I had it shipped. And I was like, and then it's all in Japanese, so I'd have to sit there either doing it really slowly myself or pay someone else to translate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting anyway. I thought it highlighted a difference in the attitude between Japan and the West, just in terms of, I think if you did this, I mean, Tom said he didn't think it'd be that different, but I think if you did this survey on Western devs, I think you'd have a lot. You definitely wouldn't get 100%. You might get maybe 70. And of the 30 who say they don't, some of them I think would be lying.
It depends on whether you count administrative uses, right? Which is, as you said,
Yes.
one of the big things that is kind of wiggle room even in how the questions asked potentially is, are you using AI administratively?
Yeah.
Breens, any thoughts?
Yeah, a whole bunch. First of all, I agree with exactly what Rebecca and you just said about administrative uses. If you say, here's my information, make invoice, here's a bunch of information, assign it into a spreadsheet or a different type of document, or sure, whatever. Because the fact is, no one enjoys doing that bullshit anyway. But I remember playing Call of Duty, I don't know if it was Black Ops 6 or 7, one of the more recent ones. And I remember going through those icons and emblems that we mentioned before. Like, you prestige and you level up and there's like a million fucking emblems to unlock. I just scrolled all the way to the end and had a look at them. And I remember like a dog head Cerberus, like 3 dog heads. I don't know if they were pit bulls or whatever. And their mouths wide open. And it's like each dog had different sets of teeth at the back or no sets of teeth. And it's like, okay, a human artist wouldn't do this. A human artist would be consistent, but AI is sort of generating it on the fly. And I was like, part of me feels like it doesn't fucking matter because I think all of this content is shit anyway. It's like, I don't want to earn prestige 50. I just don't give a shit. Maybe that's just me. And then I look at something like Expedition 33 and we've got the beautifully rendered Lumiere, like a post-apocalyptic Paris fantasy sort of thing. And then when you get those AI posters in there, suddenly it's like, are you saying it does matter because no longer is it the shit content I don't care about. This is the environment that's your setting for your game, this incredible story. And suddenly I do feel like that devalues a product heavily. It's almost like Call of Duty is so full of crap anyway, AI generated or otherwise, it doesn't fucking matter. But then when you want to make an actual piece of art, something that isn't a commercial product, which Call of Duty has been for many, many years, let's face it. When you want to make something like Expedition 33 and you want to say, we made it with this, this, and this, bro, just fucking take some photographs. Just take some photographs. I remember
Yes.
playing Fire Emblem Warriors, the first one, and one of the levels in that game just has a stock photo of some pebbles for a ground texture. You can just
Yeah.
see it. You're like, someone just taking a picture of some pebbles in a river. There it is. Just fucking do that. Who gives a shit? Like,
That's so true. There's one that was driving me crazy, which was the Tomb Raider remake news a few weeks ago about they've used generative AI for concept art in that. And I'm like, you, the IP holders of Tomb Raider, have 30 years of pictures of Lara Croft. You don't need like if
They
there was
have
ever
all the
a
concept
redundant
art.
use of generative AI, it is to use AI to generate a picture of Lara Croft when you own the IP to Tomb Raider. That was just what are we doing here?
It's I mean, I don't know what you guys both just said, right? You would, you could. It's so. I zero in on the point that you made, Breens, about does it matter that all that stuff's sort of crap, but also some of that crappy small background thing or thing that only a tiny percentage of the player base will see 5 years ago was someone's pride and joy.
Yeah.
And so it's a really good example, and someone will notice like a really good example, and it's funny, I'm going to use this as an example, and the irony is, I don't know how they're using it, but I know Capcom is a company that is committed to integrating AI into its workflows, and I think the question is how. They've been quite strong on saying we won't have it for art, and hopefully that stands. But like in Resident Evil 9, when you're on the street in the starts bit, and I found myself just looking into the windows of the shops, and they had a sticker in one of the windows of one of the shops, and this sticker actually went viral a little bit around the game's release. It was one of those stickers you get in a restaurant window that's like, here's the banking we accept in here. And someone, some artist at Capcom had gone, right, we need a legally distinct version of the Visa logo. And it was, so where from a distance you think it's the Visa logo. And so you end up with Viwa and Amazing Express and Monster Card. And all these great fake logos. And someone spent a week on that, some artist.
Yeah.
And the danger is that's the sort of stuff that gets farmed out. And that's where it's going to be difficult, because when I say it's sort of a foregone conclusion, I think it's like, when I look at that survey and it says 100% are using them, I think the reaction of some people is instantly to kick up and be super angry. And I think we need to have a little bit of nuance where we say, it's acceptable if you're using it in your dev workflows to improve stuff. I was chatting to a guy who works in localization where he was like, no, this is really useful for us in terms of we can do a very quick machine translation. This is a smaller publisher that publishes a lot of densely texty Japanese RPGs. And he was like, we can use machine translation to do a quick translation, and then we go in, and then that allows testers to sort of go in and play the game, and it works. But then we obviously replace all that text with our hand translated stuff. And that's a process that potentially really shortens their dev times, because they haven't got to wait for the final translation, which can take 6-9 months before they begin doing Western testing. And he was explaining, that makes perfect sense. But the key thing we need to try and get across, and I don't know how we get it across, is that if we, the end users, are looking at AI-generated stuff on screen in a final game, that shit's unacceptable. That's where I stand anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. To be fair, to be clear, my point was that, like, I almost already expect slop from products. It's like when you watch an advert on TV and you see like an AI dog shit these days, and I'm like,
what's that casino? And they've had ads in the football and stuff.
I don't want to advertise them. I remember.
Yeah, but all their ads are 100% AI, right? It's horrendous.
Okay, you see, again, for me that devalues a product, but it's also like, I feel like I'm just used to being given slop in front of my face for crap, and again, for video games, there's like, I joked about this on Blue Sky the other day. There's a spectrum of like art to product that each game releases on. And it's like, the closer it is to product, the less of a shit I give. The closer it is to art, the more every detail matters. And it's a completely biased personal thing where the game lands on that fucking spectrum. Call of Duty's product, in case you weren't clear.
But it's yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's so everywhere in the sense that if I was to open up Facebook or Instagram and do the local feed, all the posters for the school summer fair and stuff are all bloody ChatGPT.
All the
now,
all
right?
the pub World Cup posters have been AI generated, right?
Yeah.
Apart from you get the very rare one that's drawn on a chalkboard or something, but they're so bad. I mean, I remember the Coca-Cola, the Christmas ad, was it last year or the year before? That was
It was the
AI
year
generated.
before, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it was like, I know, like, it's Coke and it's a product or whatever, but the Christmas ad with the truck and Father Christmas was a good advert, right? It made
Iconic.
it was part of Christmas in a way. And then you've got this like AI generated beavers and rabbits, whoever else running around. And it's like, this is just shit. This is utter shit. And I just started buying Lidl Coke from that point onwards. Lidl's probably even worse. I don't know anything about Lidl, but at least I'm not buying the product that put out that terrible advert.
We got to start getting Lidl money for this podcast already.
Right?
I actually completely agree with Tom. And again, back on my little product VR rant, I feel like the Coke adverts were at one point a case of products financing art instead of what it is now. It's just all product slop.
Yeah,
absolutely. Advertising, is people don't think of it, but advertising has been for many years a bastion of a weird place for art. In video games, the great example
James
is
Bond.
those. Yeah, to some degree.
I thought you were going to go First Light.
No, well, yeah, to some degree. I mean, well, that will connect into our next topic actually, but the element of what I was getting at was the third place PlayStation adverts. That was art, right? And would you get that now? I don't know. It feels like that's where we've lost our way a little bit, and that's not just about AI. That's about the way we market things now. Like those third place adverts probably don't pass a focus group sniff test in 2026.
The Xbox ad where he gets born and then ends up in the coffin, right? I mean,
That's the best video game ad of all time, I think. Probably like mainstream TV ad. That got banned though, didn't it? Because it was considered too violent. Which there's nothing violent. We're all gonna die.
Whoa,
It's weird.
not me. I'm built different.
But that's the sort of cheery stuff you can enjoy in this podcast. Is those sorts of reminders.
Yeah. Just don't get me started. I used to be a goth. I'll be riffing on this for 10 minutes.
Yes. Anyway, so that's the ATA AI beat for this week. Next up, if it wasn't all cheery enough, EA's done a really interesting interview this week where their VP of advertising and sponsorship, a guy called Alexander Dow, did an interview with our good friend Christopher Dring on the game business, which is a business focus. So I highly recommend you check it out. But if you go in knowing it's not like this, it is for people in the industry, really. And they did an interview, and Dow talked about EA's plans to sort of go big on and try to standardize in-game ads. And I thought this would be interesting for us to discuss because there's quite a lot of parallels actually for people who have run websites. And so I think I saw this presented by some news sites with headlines like EA, are going to fill pump games full of ads. And actually then when I went and watched Chris's show, I was like, there's actually a bit more nuance to it than that, where basically what they're trying to do is EA has set up an internal ad agency over the last few months. And that agency is trying to standardize how in-game ads work. And so the reason I wanted to bring it up in this pod is because that's very similar to, if you look at a website, right? If you are completely disconnected from all this and you turn your ad blocker off and you look at a website, you will notice that across the web, almost all websites have the same mix of what we would call units. They're roughly the same size and things like that. And so that's pretty standardized. And that concept doesn't exist in games. So, and they're talking mostly about sports games here, but the idea being if they're doing the billboards in Madden and in FIFA and things like that, you have to do it individually on a game-to-game basis. It's quite difficult. There's no standardization. So they're trying to build standardization into it. And they're trying to tie that, in the case of EA, directly into Frostbite. So the idea is they can go to people and say to Coca-Cola, do you want to put your AI slop image on the side of the bill, on the side of the pitch in FIFA and stuff like that? Which is probably a better way to do this. I mean, how do you guys feel about? I mean, actually, the person I want to initially ask on this is they're talking only about sports games, but the one other game that they mentioned in the interview was The Sims. So, how do you feel about this, Rebecca, as a big Sims fan?
It's an interesting one, right? Because obviously this did get like a huge reaction out of the Sims community, who are, to put it mildly, not happy at the moment with the direction that EA is taking, not only with the game, but with their business practices outside of the game. But this has led to a lot of people pointing out, well, product placement in The Sims has been going back since the original. They had tie-in events with McDonald's in like 2001, a year after the first game launched. It's not new to have Pepsi sponsorship. They've had so many car companies tie in.
But they have the IKEA expansion.
Yeah, the IKEA expansion, which controversially was the only thing not included in the re-release of Sims 2 last year, which is just an interesting
I was going to say shout out to Steve Hoggerty for the best review of all time.
God,
wasn't that the H&M crossover?
That was the H&M
one, which they managed to retain the license for that one, but not IKEA, which is
wow.
I bet that's because IKEA's stock is so transient. I bet half the stuff in that pack can't be bought in real life anymore. And so IKEA.
To be honest, though, the H&M stuff must have cycled out. They're both the same age.
I mean, even quicker, yeah.
It's like, but so there's always been that element of tie-ins and crossovers, and I think for me the main question would be, taking aside the morality of where EA's money is going to go from now on.
Yes.
That's scandal noted, but not part of this conversation. I would be interested to know if a standardization would affect how The Sims worked with these things, just because it's kind of always been quite creative. There's been different ways of incorporating different types of brands. Obviously, with a fashion brand, you can dress your characters in the clothes. You can decorate your house with the decor from IKEA or from another. It would be kind of flattening to just see billboards in the game rather than sort of sponsored items actually appear in the game.
That's where I'm sort of torn, because I guess it depends on, like, in a sports game, I'm like, actually, in a weird way, the sponsorships and the billboards and stuff are part of the experience. If you want to feel like you're in the stadiums are full of that crap anyway. And FIFA and Madden and NBA, PBA Pro Bowling, whatever, they're all set in the real world. You're also doing stuff like, if you're in Tiger Woods, or not Tiger Woods anymore, but PGA Tour, you're buying real clubs and stuff like that. So all that stuff is part and parcel. My issue is sort of along the lines of, like, The Sims. One of the things that's lovely about The Sims, and why I've never really liked the tie-ins, is that it's like a weird facsimile of the real world. And so they get Katy Perry in, but she doesn't sing in English. She sings in Simlish. And so then if you're putting a billboard for Coke or whatever into town, when you go into town in The Sims, are you not breaking that world a little bit? Isn't all the text supposed to be in Simlish rather than English?
It usually is, even with the tie-in stuff. Generally, I think occasionally they've let a little bit of English slip through on, like, the Machino expansion from a few years ago. That has Machino's actual logo on it. But yeah, it is usually done in that kind of sideways way, and it would be a shame to see that flattened by standardization, I think.
The big brands can get away with it, right? Like, you put the McDonald's arch on a post. You don't
need to see the menu or whatever to know that that's being McDonald's.
And you have like a sim character drinking a bottle of Coke. I mean, as long as it's not like the actual. I'm trying to think of like a current, like, Jude Bellingham drinking a bottle. He's probably sponsored by Pepsi. I don't know, drinking a bottle of Coke on a billboard. If it was the sim version of him.
Yeah, exactly. They've had real people be made into Sims for this sort of thing as well, and it works really well.
I guess I'm on a sliding scale of, like, I'm fine if you, like, the ads are going to be there in FIFA anyway. They actually sort of belong. So if you want to build a system that's very similar to, like, the sort of ad marketplaces we have for websites for within games, and dynamically deliver ads, as long as they fit and you're not putting ads for dick pills or whatever on there, then I think have at it. But obviously I don't want to be seeing a billboard on the other end for Coca-Cola in the middle of Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But then you get a very realistic game like Battlefield, and it's like if you're in a city and it's a ruined city, it's a city under siege or whatever, or these games always do stuff like Times Square, the Russians are invading Times Square. If you want to go and have the actual Times Square billboards, I sort of am okay with it, I guess.
I guess it's the Death Stranding thing, right? It's like, do you have a generic asset in place to replace it with once the license expires? Because it's a shame when whole games get lost to this sort of thing. But what was it? They had him drinking Monster Energy drink, and when that license expired, they had him drinking beer, which is quite a different prospect from. They didn't go generic energy drink; they went generic beer, which was
means he got more cool.
A choice, certainly.
But this is why I said to Breens when he said about James Bond earlier, I was like, well, this becomes relevant because then there's that in First Light. Obviously, they've gone all in on that.
Does he drink the Coke in the game?
He doesn't drink the Coke, but in a very James Bond way, you've got the billboards show up in a few places, and obviously you have the big moment when you're in the car chase and the Coke delivery truck gets in your way.
I'm against the Coke for reasons other than that it's sponsored. It's just I don't understand a caffeine-free diet drink.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Yeah,
why would I choose to drink that drink? I don't think James Bond would drink it. That's my biggest issue with it.
Well, I was quite surprised no beer sponsorship for that because Heineken have been James Bond's official beer. And Heineken paid so much towards, I think it was Quantum of Solace, that they covered nearly half of its production budget. But he doesn't. They've got him necking pints. But I was really surprised he didn't have a bottle of Heineken. He just had a pint glass. But I guess what I'm saying is that's the other end, right? Of like, we've already had the debate about video games going up to 80. We're probably going to be in 10 years having the debate about our video games going to go to 100 quid, right? And my opinion on it is a little bit, well, if games can make more money through product placement or whatever else, then maybe we can keep the cost down, maybe. Of course, the most likely thing is these companies raise the price and include a lot of product placement.
No, they do. Yeah, they do. But they'll do both, right? They're not going to pass the savings on. That doesn't
That's
happen.
true. Yeah. The other question for me is definitely, especially thinking about The Sims, I kind of assumed from what I've seen so far that ads are more likely to be in the launcher than in the game itself. And I think that also kind of makes a difference to me. Like, I'm used to free-to-play game launchers with ads in them. And it's a lot less, people don't love it, but it's a lot less sort of obtrusive on your gaming experience than actually being in the game. And I do think that's a different thing. So
can I suggest 3 instances where advertisements made a game better?
Please, I would love to hear them.
Research? Coming on to this, you did research.
I actually, I've already forgotten one of the ones I was going to mention, so it might be 2. Oh no, wait! I've actually replaced my fucking second one. Let's go. First one, Burnout Paradise had the infamous Obama billboard. Infamous.
Did it?
It did. Had Obama in there. I've actually pulled up. If you just type in Obama Burnout in Google, put on the images. Early voting has begun. Voteforchange.com. Was that his 2008 campaign? I think. I'm not sure. So legendary. I also want to shout out Pikmin 2. Has Duracell batteries in it. Has a variety of Japanese snacks.
Yeah.
They actually removed those in the Switch version, and it did actually somehow remove something about the game. Some sort of quirky personality. It felt a little off, honestly. And then finally, of course, the iconic Crazy Taxi. And if you're not taking people to KFC in the new one, then what's the point of the game?
You're not. In fact, it's one of those things. I hope I get an interview with those guys because I want to ask about that because it's iconic. But I get this. That's what I mean about real world, right? It's like the Bond stuff. Him having an Omega watch rather than a generic watch makes a lot of sense. And I saw a lot of people a lot of games people clipping that section where Q gives Bond the watch and you're choosing out of the box. And go like, look at this disgraceful advert. And I was like, have you watched the fucking James Bond film before? Like, this is read one of the books indeed, because a lot of the books are pages and pages of descriptions of. I still make scrambled eggs in the way that Ian Fleming describes them being made in those books.
Every day I learn something new about you that I'm like, what the fuck?
But the point is, is that that's an indelible part of the character, and I think so. That's where product placement fits, and so if you can make it fit, then great. Which is why, if it fits in sports games, and Burnout is a real life thing. I talked about this in relation to Forza Horizon, the new one, because I felt like its version of Japan was a bit less potent, because the fake versions of some of the most iconic things were quite weak. Like, so the Shibuya 109 department store, they've got that building, but for some reason they don't put the number on the top, and the number is so big and so iconic. And even when they did that building in Kingdom Hearts, the World Ends Review, they put 104 up there. They didn't want to get sued, so they didn't put 109 up there, but they put 104 up there. And I'm just like, why doesn't this look right? Or like they've got a fake version of the Joy Sound karaoke sign that you see in a lot of places, in built-up places in Japan, and it really doesn't evoke it right. So, and that was one of those occasions when I looked at that game and I was like, man, they should have just gone out and signed the deals they needed to sign to have that iconography. But hey,
it's like that. Was it Driver? Which Driver game was it in London that recreated like T-Mobile shops and stuff?
It's like The Getaway.
Or was it The Getaway?
Well, The Getaway is like a wonderful time capsule because they actually went and took photos on I believe on wind-up disposable cameras of London. And they literally scanned those photos for the texture, like you were saying earlier. So it's like a time capsule of certain bits of London with brands that have gone bust and shops that have closed.
And I don't think they got the rights for most of those. They just fucking did it.
Different era, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to move on, but the advertising stuff, I'm probably going to get attacked for this, but it doesn't bother me at all. I do not care about any of it. And even when I turn on an Xbox and it gives me an ad for something, I just click through it. I've moved on. It doesn't bother me at all. I get it's annoying to some people. It does not bother me. My son, we're watching films and he'll see someone with an iPad or something. He'll be like, sponsored by Apple. It's an iPad. Or someone's using a Samsung phone. They paid to sponsor Samsung. And I'm like, I do not care. Like, people in the real world use those things. It doesn't bother. I'd much rather they use a real thing, and maybe there's sponsorship to it, maybe there isn't, rather than some fake thing that takes you out of it because they're using some random unidentifiable phone or laptop or whatever. But I don't know. I've got other things to worry about rather than if an advert appears when I'm driving down a road.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you're going to do the fake ads, you need to do them really well. Like GTA is the prime example of that, right? Where GTA has created brands like Pisswasser and what's the delivery the armored car company called? Group 6. They've created these brands that live in your head and have lived in your head for 20 years in the same way real brands do. So I think, and it's always amazed me, and maybe it will happen with GTA 6, but I'm like, I can't believe that Budweiser hasn't got, or Coors or someone hasn't gone to Rockstar and said, can we do a limited edition of Bud that's got the Pisswasser branding on it? But I guess that sort of breaks the
does GTA have any real stuff? Like, does GTA Online have any real stuff, like actual real world stuff in it?
No, but it's all they've got their own.
Yeah.
So it feels like thing, right? Imagine the money that they'd be being offered to get a billboard of I don't know what the biggest household name brand is at the moment, but say a beer I don't drink, a beer of some sort. Foster's, there you go. Foster's, that exists still? Foster's.
Yeah, Foster's.
How much would they have to pay to get a billboard in GTA 6? Must be talking one of the biggest ad deals of all time, surely, to get that in there. But they're just presumably not doing it. Yeah. I'm not saying they should, but it must be taking a lot to not do that because the money must be insane.
There's going to be risk aversion on the part of the brand managers, though, which is going to be a big issue with things like GTA, where it's always a bit edgy with the situations it's presenting the product in as well. I was just thinking about the way to ruin some of my favorite movies is to watch the Knives Out films and realize that one of the rules of their product placement for computers, I can't remember what computer, I assume it's Apple, but I can't remember, is the killer is never allowed to touch an Apple product. And so if you just watch who never actually picks up an Apple product.
I've not seen the
you
new
can
one
win.
yet.
Well, don't look at
spoiled
what's an
it
Apple
for
product,
him.
for God's
You
sake.
spoiled it
I
for
can't
him.
identify.
Don't look at
I
any
won't be able to
logos.
identify it anyway. It's
Your
just a
kids will be like,
bloody
look, they're
device."
touching the Apple phone. Sponsored by Apple.
That's crazy.
But yeah,
good.
I've heard that is a rule that they've got in place, and now I'm like, I love these films, and I'm glad I didn't know that before I watched them.
Yeah, that could be.
But
They'll have
also,
to- yeah.
you got the heady heights of Madame Web's Pepsi sponsorship, which I think is the greatest bit of product placement I've ever seen. I love that film. It's terrible, and the villain gets killed by the Pepsi sign at the end. That's not a spoiler because no one cares about Madame Web.
Why not? Why not? Yeah, yeah. It's an. I'm not over that Knives Out thing. That film is proof that product placement works because the watch that Daniel Craig wears in the second one, I fell in love with so much, and when I watched that film, that I bought that as my watch for my wedding.
Nice.
So that's proof that product placement does work on at least
But
some
yeah.
mugs.
But to bring it back to the GTA thing, sorry, it's just like that risk aversion means that if you're showing, car brands would presumably love a GTA tie-in, except they're going to see the car get smashed up, and that's probably against some brand Bible somewhere, for example.
Sometimes it adds up as well, though. Like, I can tell you, I know, which is crazy that you make those connections, but I know that the GTA version of Ford is vapid. And I know that the GTA version of Lamborghini is Pegassi. Because they've got those fakes, and those fakes are so close to the real that you now begin
they
to...
become part of the iconography of the game. And
I wanna tie this back to not only GTA, but again, my spectrum of product to art. I'm gonna throw it out there. I actually think single player GTA is closer to the art side of that spectrum, and GTA Online is somehow closer to the product. So maybe it could actually work in like a GTA Online update, the same way they threw in Eminem and Dr. Dre and shit.
Yeah, maybe. I hope they
know?
don't, because the GTA universe is so pure. And also the thing about the GTA brands, I just brought some of them up. A lot of them are so insulting so like Monster Energy becomes junk energy in the GTA world. And CNN becomes CNT.
Yeah.
And things
they're
like
so
that.
subtle. What I love about them is how subtle they are.
And so I don't think you can put I don't think you can put real brands in without compromising that. Call of Duty is Righteous Slaughter, isn't it? That's the GTA version of COD. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we should probably move on from this advertising discussion. What else have we got? Briefly, there's going to be a network test for the Duskbloods, the From Software multiplayer game. There's a Switch 2 exclusive. That's going to be happening on August the 21st, so a little over a month from now, for 5 days. There's 1 4-hour slot each day across the 5 days. They're at set times for the whole world, so you may find yourself having to wake up at silly o'clock. That's pretty cool. You will need a Nintendo Switch Online subscription to do that, but that's quite exciting.
Imagine waking up at 3 a.m. to play a video game. Imagine doing that.
Might be doing it, mate. I might be doing it.
Imagine being one of those people that wakes up at 3 a.m. to play a game when you could be asleep.
I might wake up at 6 a.m. and catch the last hour though.
That's all right. That's acceptable.
That's more respectable.
3 a.m. though, I mean, goodness.
Yeah, I've guided Mystic Messenger. You can't scare me.
That's work. That you're being paid. That's a bit different.
It wasn't at 3 a.m. It was on salary.
Wow. Okay.
That's over now.
But yeah, I was just saying it because I knew Alex probably would do it.
But I might do it. I'm pondering it. What I would say is I expect, to be clear, I do not know anything, but usually with Nintendo, if there's a playtest for this, I bet there will be some sort of media thing. Maybe Miyazaki will speak to some people, maybe some media will see it, whatever. And either slightly before or right after or right at the same time as this, I think it's inevitable. So hopefully we'll learn a bit more about the game before that happens. The next major Nintendo Lego set has been revealed. It's a $200 Donkey Kong arcade cabinet. coming out in August, which seems like it's timed for the 45th anniversary of the original arcade cab. It's pretty cool. If it's anything like the Pac-Man one, it's probably going to have some sort of slightly playable element, like in the Pac-Man one, you could crank it and they would move around the maze, or you could attach it to one of the Lego like motors. But 200's a lot. I feel like Lego need to understand that not all of these grown-up video game-related Lego sets need to be so expensive. They did a nice one recently where they did the Mega Drive, and that one was like 35 quid. And yeah, it's like
I like that. I like that it was cheaper, but part of me was like, this is one I might have paid actual good money for. It's the one I wasn't bothered about
Don't
the
tell them,
NES or
Tom.
anything else, but a Mega Drive actually is something that I have fond memories of, and I probably would have paid more for, but we didn't get a proper one. It's just that I know it's fine, it's cheaper, and like it's more of an impulse buy. And I've never bought anything Lego that costs over like I bought the Fortnite, whatever that lizard thing is. No, yes, the battle bus and the lizard thing for my son because they were like he was desperate. That's what he wanted one year for Christmas. But I've never bought myself any expensive Lego. But a Mega Drive might have done.
I think the weird thing about the way Lego works, though, is like you look at the Mega Drive versus the NES. The Mega Drive is about half the size of the NES, yes. But it's obviously not half the price. The NES, when that was out, was I think 220 quid. But the NES obviously came with the fake CRT TV as well, with the beautiful like scroll of Mario. And again, you could crank it and Mario would go across the level. And so I would say 60% of the parts budget of that went into the TV. And actually, if you just love the game console and you love the form of the game console and want a Lego version of that, the TV is completely superfluous. And so the Mega Drive is like they just made the console and they made it in a smaller form factor. So hopefully they do more of that. I mean, I will buy this Donkey Kong cabinet. I am a slag for that sort of stuff. But
have you bought all the Pokemon stuff?
I haven't bought any of. I bought Eevee, but I haven't bought any of the other Pokemon stuff. I was in Costco the other day and they had the Pikachu quite heavily reduced, and I picked it up. And then I was like, it's even though it's heavily reduced, it looks
hideous.
The face is bad.
Whereas the one that's like the three together looks quite good. But
yeah,
I saw it in the Lego. I saw it in the Lego store. I was like, who's got room for this anywhere in their house? I know if you're spending 600 quid, you probably do have room, I guess. But
I'm going to keep an eye out for like that one to go on sale because I would like to buy it, but I haven't got anywhere to put it. So it would go in the loft on the hope that one day I have a big enough house that I can display more stuff. They are slowly. Did you see the one that was revealed? The Pokeball that was also revealed. And the Pokeball's pretty cool because it's sort of like actually it's up there. The Mario.
I was thinking, I was going to say it's like
block.
the Mario.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And if you haven't, so for the people listening, the Mario question mark block, it looks like the Mario question mark block, but it's actually like a diorama. So the block opens and it's got four of the levels and the castle from Mario 64 inside in tiny build. And the Pokeball is sort of like that. So it's a Pokeball built out of Lego, but then you open it up and it's got like Professor Oak's lab and the three starters. I think Pikachu and Eevee as well, and Ash. Well, Red actually, because it's the video game version, so not Ash. So that's cool. Anyway, so more video game Lego. Seems like that is something that's going to continue. And I'm very interested to see what's going to be happening with Zelda as we get closer to the film. We also had the news yesterday that Hasbro are going to be making Zelda toys, which is exciting. There'll be some cool action figures, but also Hasbro having the Zelda license. Magic the Gathering feels like a natural jump from Final Fantasy and stuff.
Yeah, it feels possible.
They're going to put photos of the film characters on the cards. Is that what they're going to do?
I mean, I'd hope they'd illustrate them.
But they're going to do like this. They're doing photos. They're going to do the Star Trek route. Star Trek is the one, right? I don't follow Magic the Gathering. Is it Star Trek cards that have had the pictures and they look hideous?
They're not pictures. They are drawn, but it's someone has drawn to a photoreal standard.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Apologise.
What else? Other quick stories. EU Commissioner for Democracy, Justice, Rule of Law and Consumer Protection has said the EU cannot stop Sony from ceasing game disc production. The commissioner said, quote, "It does come down to commercial and contractual freedoms. Companies are free to offer games and services in the manner they see fit," unquote. So that locks off a potential pathway that people are looking at to stop that decision. the EU has also declined to propose a new law about preserving games when they get closed down in response to the Stop Killing Games petition. But I do think there's probably road to run on that particular topic. But I don't think there's any starter in authorities telling people they've got to print discs. And on this same topic, new Wolverine trailer looks pretty sick. Cinematic game, but I think that's going to be the first major test, right, for those saying they're boycotting Sony and PlayStation.
They're going to fold. They've already folded. Just that's it. It doesn't make any difference. This all talk. It happens every single time there's one of these things, campaigns,
What's that
right?
famous meme, the Modern Warfare 2 boycott, where all the members of the Steam group are all playing Modern Warfare 2?
Yeah.
I like that one. I always think that the issue with trying to boycott anything with video games is that most fandom spaces vastly underestimate just how many people are not constantly online and talking about the games that they play.
100%.
The huge majority of players of any game are not involved in the fandom, don't know what the drama is, don't know what the company's doing, and aren't even aware that there is a boycott to join. Which is not to say that most people don't absolutely back out of boycotts like the instant that they get interested in something, because I do think that's also true.
I think the disc stuff has cut through a bit, because I literally heard 2 people talking about it in the supermarket the other day.
Wow.
And so I think that's cut through a bit.
Was it Lidl or another supermarket?
It was not Lidl. It was.
Are we allowed to mention other? Oh, we already said.
Yeah,
No,
we're going to
because
put
we
out
are
a
allowed.
little sponsorship if I say it was. I don't know. It was either Morrison's or Marks and Spencer's, because they're next to each other, and I always go to them both.
I'm going to
every
get a
time.
phone call now about that.
Probably. Other little bits. Glenn Schofield has retired, so he's a bit of an industry legend. Has been around since '91. Worked on 3 Call of Duty titles, some of the later ones. Most famous for Dead Space, and most recently did Callisto Protocol. I think it's interesting because he finished Callisto, and then there was a big gap, and now he's retiring. So I wonder, did he try?
He tried to
stand
do
something
some
else?
stuff, didn't he? There was a few odd posts from him, right, about how he couldn't get funding, and then he was doing some AI stuff, maybe, and it just seemed like it wasn't going anywhere. So it seemed a little bit inevitable. But yeah, he's been around for a long time, right? Has done some, like Dead Space probably. It's bizarre that he's worked on COD, but Dead Space is the one that stands out, right? But it did, like that Dead Space, one of those games that I think over time became better somehow. Like it was a game that people liked at launch, but it wasn't loved as much as I think people think it was. And then it just gradually became this game that most people seem to rank as like one of the best sort of action horror games.
Would you have anything to say about Dead Space 4?
Definitely in development.
That's some old lore for people who know. But yeah, I mean, Glenn, I met him a few times, interviewed him a few times. I think for games like Call of Duty World War II, stuff like that. Nice bloke. Wish him the very best. I think he's quite young for retirement, so we'll see him. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see him back in some years when the industry perhaps is a bit more amenable to funding ideas, which it isn't right now. And last, some extra bits of fallout from Xbox finally. So I think you can see the tone of so they said, Compulsion Games, we're letting you go. Well, they are letting them go, but now you've got the CEO of Compulsion Games and others openly soliciting on LinkedIn, saying, hey, do you need manpower for your game? You can subcontract us, that's what they need to do. And I really hope they get that work, but that speaks to the exit trajectory from Xbox, that they're having to do that. That in order to get some money in, speaks to the situation they've been put into. So hopefully that comes off well and they find people for those jobs. It's unbelievable they've gone from winning a BAFTA to this so quickly, even if the game's audience wasn't perhaps as big as they'd hoped. And also the Elder Scrolls Online, it's really become clear, almost all of that game's leadership has gone or is in the process of going. They're going to be staying on. There's going to be a transition period. But they're having some of the more junior staff step up. But I can't see how the plans they outlined for smaller updates, but more often, is now going to work. They only outlined that plan 6 months ago, and it seems like that already must be in the trash, because I don't know, they've got enough people to physically do it.
It's been a hell of a week for live service games generally. A lot of places are showing the cracks right now. And I mean, we were talking about it the other day, Alex, and yeah, it's just It's
Yeah.
like it feels like a watershed moment's coming up in live service just because of the precarity of the industry, and I think live service exposes those cracks a lot quicker and more publicly. But
Do we think
we'll
that
see.
GTA comes out and then what do you reckon? What's our prediction? 6 months, 9 months for GTA Online?
Until it launches. Yeah.
Within a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say so.
I think I could easily see it being a year late. Yeah, exactly a year later. But I think the issue they have is like, have they announced what's happening with the current GTA Online yet? Because it's like a big thing, right? There's a big deal.
It's still huge.
Do they just
do they
just drop
huge.
it, or do they like?
I mean, if
it's tricky, right?
Hugely expensive, but obviously the amount of money that makes, they've got the money. But if they're really smart, the thing they do is they actually like port GTA 5 Liberty City into the new engine. And when you launch GTA Online, you have both maps and you let people carry over at least some of their progression.
Surely there's got to be some connection, is how I've been looking at it.
Well, there was all sorts of leaks.
Yeah.
There was all sorts of leaks that they were going to port GTA 4 Liberty City into GTA Online, and then that never happened. Yeah, there's got to be some sort of connection. You've got to try and...
Yeah, it's been 13 years. People are so resistant to that sort of change. Surely many at least won't adopt a completely discrete GTA 6 Online, especially if it kills GTA 5 Online.
Mad they haven't spoken about it at all. Totally bonkers. Right? Anyway, yes. We're running out of road here, running out of time. So quickly, just shout out some stuff that is on the site. So what is on the site? Obviously, first of all, Rebecca, you did a fantastic piece about Love and Deep Space and all the stuff going on there. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, my article's really long because it's a complex issue to get into, but essentially they seem to have cancelled the rest of the game effectively without much of a plan as to what replaces it, due to a very nasty fan backlash that involved getting the CCP to investigate the studio. So obviously, best wishes to all those devs. I hope it all works out well. It is a very weird thing to see, even in gacha spaces, which like do have these big dramas blow up. I've never seen one blow up this big for a game this big, so it's quite unprecedented, even for people who are kind of in that milieu to try and work out what's really going on. It's also just kind of sad because it was one of the few games that really was giving women a real foregrounded space within the games industry to kind of like be the focal audience of a game, not just the nice to have extras if you want to join in. So I'm sad to see it potentially like go out like this after.
Do you think this could be like the start of the end then, or
it could be? I mean, there's a lot of factors that it depends. I think that, I mean, worst case scenario, the studio gets shut down because there's an ongoing CCP investigation, which is obviously just dreadful on a human level, never mind a game development level. But there's also the fact that even if that kind of works out all right for them, I don't see how they can now reintroduce the material they've been made to cut while under the threat of that increased scrutiny. In the meantime, they've lost a lot of revenue. They've put a lot of development money into something that now can't be released. It's a really hairy time for that studio. They have recently discontinued support for some of their older games, so maybe there's a little bit of a cushion there for the studio to keep developing on that money. They are not a very transparent studio, it's got to be said. So this is me trying to gather resources from wherever I can find them. But yeah, it's wild because it's these big online live service games, there's always a lot of fans complaining about what they don't like, but I've never seen it blow up from the usual grumblings that actually we're all having a really good time still 2 months ago to this. And this has all happened in like the last 3 weeks. I've never seen anything like it, and I've seen fandom drama blow up before. So as I say, just like my best wishes to all the devs. I hope they're okay. It would be nice to see the game find its feet again, but yeah, it's please go read my article because I worked really hard on that and it took me ages. So I'm really proud of it. Thank you.
It's excellent. It's on the top of the site. Yeah,
Thank you.
It's been crazy to see how this game has like suffered a reputational collapse in like record time.
Yeah, it's really sad. It is genuinely really sad. There's a lot of it that I just don't think those devs could have predicted how I think they knew that there would be backlash, because there's always backlash whenever they do anything to an extent, because what they've essentially done is like, here are 5 characters, fall in love with at least one of them, and then you kind of get a little annoyed whenever one of the others gets any attention. I saw someone compare it to like when your sibling gets a birthday party, sort of whenever one of the characters comes into focus, the fans of the other characters sometimes get
You have to
quite
buy the
narked.
other. You have to buy the sibling a little present.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's what you have to do. Otherwise,
That's
they get
literally
well
what
pissed
people
off.
have been saying. But the thing is, they do that when one character's getting focused, the other characters do get little bits of like extra. It blew up to the point where it wasn't enough to, you know, stop all this from happening. And then at some point, someone kind of pushed the nuclear button, and now it's all very uncertain what's going to happen. Yes.
Other little bits on the side. There's Tom mourning the end of what looks like the end of physical games. I'm banging on about Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica and 10-pin bowling, so very me this week. There is a second part of Elden Ring piece if you want to see Tom suffer, which we love.
Mostly,
Yeah, we do.
it's a lot of swearing. Like, it's an unbelievable. If you follow me at all, you think I'm this passive, calm, like person who's very nice, quite polite in some ways. And then I play that game and I'm like, I don't know what happens. There's a bit where I kill this boss. I don't even remember it happening. I swear I called him like a prick or something. It just happened. I never say that in actual real life.
Oh no, that's it. Games bring it out in you. I say horrendous things to game characters that I would never say to a real person. It's not just you. What's been really sweet though has been being in a group chat with you and some other XVG people, and Kelsey, who's still a guides writer at Eurogamer and knows Elden Ring inside out. Watching her like slowly walk you through some of this stuff on the back end of the conversation
Kelsey
has been
was
so
like,
lovely.
drink flasks. And I was like, what's a flask? And it's the most basic thing in this game, right? And I was like, I assumed, I'd asked that you just health. I don't know what I thought happened to health. And then as soon as I knew about a flask, I'm like, flask, constant flasks, which also is a bad idea. I'll get there. 3 years' time.
You never played any Dark Souls before?
I have, but it's like, I got like the first Dark Souls, I got to this, there's like a boar.
Yep.
And I got to this boar and that was it. Done. Never playing it ever
You
again.
got to stab him in the ass.
I just couldn't. I've had enough of this. And I've done like an hour of Bloodborne, and I played Elden Ring at launch, and I just looked around for about 10 minutes and that was it. So I've touched them, and I did play loads of Mercury Steam's Blades of Fire, I think it's called Blades of Fire, which is a good game. Like, it's actually a good game. People didn't like it. I think it's a good game. I think you should check that out. It's very cheap now, I think, probably. But yeah, keep watching if you want to see more of it. I'll probably get fed up one day and it'll just be dead, never another episode. But for now, it's every week.
Hell yeah.
Not the journey, not the destination.
Last but not least, let's quickly do a little bit of our retro respective on this day, things that have happened this week in the past in the video game world. On the 13th, which we've just passed, Persona 3 turned 20 years old, which brings us back around to what I mentioned earlier about the TV show that has been announced for Netflix. So Persona 3 is great. Can't believe it's 20, sort of bonkers to think how Persona has grown since then. But, you know, with your One Piece hat on, what do you think they should do, Breens?
My God. Oh my God. I don't know. Do we go full teenage drama with it? Is that how we have to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the only way this can work? Scooby-Doo via Sunnydale? I don't know.
Well, I genuinely believe the Western version of Persona is literally just Riverdale and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So if you're doing Persona, what I would do is I wouldn't set it in Japan, because then you've got a separation from the rest of the lore. So you do the Fallout thing of you set it in the same universe, and maybe like, you know, there's word about the Phantom Thieves and, you know, people having weird changes of heart in Japan and stuff like that. But you set it in the US or the UK or something, and you literally make one of those slightly horny, very over the top teen shows. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, it gives me the fear. It gives me the fear because, like, I feel like so much of the connection I feel with the Persona characters in the series is just from doing the routines, making those decisions, take your time, who are you going to spend the time with, you're going to do quests. It's making those decisions that means it feels even more important that I bonded with the shogi girl as opposed to the person at my part-time job. And if you take that away and just have to watch it, I just have no idea. I have no idea how that translates. I'm willing to give it a chance, though.
If they've done this right, if they do this right, the only character, apart from the demons, the only character in this that is in the games will be Igor. If they do it right. If they end up in this world where they're trying to adapt one of the other games, which if you were going to adapt one of them, 4 is probably the one. In terms of the scale, in terms of the scope, it's manageable. But I really hope they just sort of just make Riverdale.
I think you're right about Eagle. That's a good call.
Well, he's got to be in it, right? Because you've got to have the
Yeah.
Velvet Room. Those are the elements of Persona you've got to have. But everything else, we don't need a we don't need a bad, like, set in Japan but acted in English adaptation of one of the games. No.
I've never played a Persona game.
What are we doing here?
Never will, probably. It's not related, but I watched the Death Note film on Netflix.
Okay.
Terrible.
Yeah, not very good.
I've no idea what the original anime is like, but goodness, what an absolutely awful film that is. I don't understand. Yeah. It's by the guy that is it Adam Wingard, who made The Guest, directed it. And Guest is really good. If you've not seen The Guest, it's a really good, you should watch it. Don't watch it after this. It's a good action film. Just whatever you're doing, just watch it. It's good. It's not that long, about 90 minutes probably.
Could probably have a feature in Tom being forced to watch some anime.
Yeah.
I'm forced to watch enough shit already. Watch a lot. Apologies. I meant more like what I'm watching at home. I'm watching currently Zombies 4 on Disney Plus.
4.
That means I've watched Zombies 1, 2, and 3.
Well, that's because you follow the plot.
And they've, spoilers, introduced vampires in 4, following the introduction of aliens in 3. And there's daywalkers and the normal vampires. But the good thing about this, because it's a Disney show, all these monsters and things just do nothing. They literally just, I'm a zombie, I'm quite strong. I'm a werewolf, but I don't turn into a werewolf. I'm a vampire, but literally nothing happens. I'm not really a vampire. It's just bizarre, but they do songs.
You're watching this and you've never watched, like, Doctor Who. Is
Doctor Who's garbage. But my kids, I watch stuff with my kids because I want that moment of peace where I could be on my phone, being miserable, pretending I'm watching the film, or they're watching Zombies 4 or Descendants 3 or whatever else. Descendants not good, by the way.
I just don't know how you worked with Jim Trinker for so many years and never were forced to watch Doctor Who or Star Trek.
I refuse. To be fair, Star Trek, I've watched all of Next Generation because everyone of a certain age watched it, right? Because it was on TV.
BBC too.
So I've watched that, but I'm never watching Doctor Who. No one can make me.
Speaking of other things, Tom will not ever play. So another one, Monster Hunter Generations is 10 this week, as is Inazuma 11 Strikers. It's a good one in that series. One that you have played, Tom, a year old today, and I think is aging well. Like, after a year, I think of it very fondly still. Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Yeah, I can't believe that's a year old. I can still remember writing about it, like, and it didn't seem a year ago.
The excitement of reviewing that game and trading texts of other people reviewing that game as you got towards the very end of that game, where I know it's a year, but I won't get into specific spoilers, but where things start to happen that are of relevance to people with back pain, is super strong, good memories. Yeah, this is a horrible list for you, Tom. Final Fantasy IV is 35. Great game. first ATB game. The Legend of Mystical Ninja is 35. Not the one that I think of when I think of that series. That's I think of the N64 one.
Yeah.
Star Ocean, the first game, start of the series, is 30 years old. Now, I love Star Ocean because it's, speaking of Star Trek, it is what if Star Trek was a JRPG?
Is that the one they did the 2D, 3D thing?
Yes,
with? Was that
recently, yeah.
Was that
Really
that
nice.
one, or was that a different? Was that a brand new game? Was that a remake?
It was
of
a
old
remake,
one?
not of that one, but of was it 2? I can't remember. But yeah, that was a recent. But I like Star Ocean. I like Star Ocean 4, where you play like the most incompetent dickhead ever, and you're flying from planet to planet, and every planet you basically accidentally destroy it and genocide all the people that live there. It happens over and over again all game, and the game has no sense of self-awareness about this at all.
Is Star Ocean the one that's got a character called like Maverick Edge?
Edge Maverick. Yeah,
That's the one.
He's the moron I'm talking about.
I know stuff. I've never played this, but I know things.
And Final Fantasy X is 25. Also a lovely, great game. One of the first games, I think, to make me genuinely upset.
Sorry,
In a
you just
good
made
way.
me feel really old.
Yeah, 25 years old.
I feel like I shouldn't remember things that happened 25 years ago, but there are some things we can never forget.
No, I always hear those things that are like, oh, we're now closer to X than we were to Y. Like, I think the recent one was Vice City, right? Where it was like Vice City was released closer to the 80s than we are to Vice City being released now, which is a horrendous truth. Which
I don't
yeah,
like
so
that.
if Vice City, when you think about the gap between release and the game coming out and the nostalgia, if you were to release a game with a similar gap today as Vice City was then, you'd be releasing a game set in like the early 2000s. You know, it would be Blink-182 on the radio. It'd be post 9/11, Rush Limbaugh talk shows, all that sort of stuff, which is frightening.
Is it
now.
just me, or did we at some point skip like 90s nostalgia? I feel like for my entire life it was like 80s nostalgia, and then suddenly it was noughties, and I was like,
I got in the car the other day, and I never listen to the radio in the car, but my wife, for some reason, is a freak who sometimes likes to listen to the radio, where I'm like anti-radio because I don't want to hear ads. Just put my Spotify on, please.
sure.
And we're in the car, and she's got a new car, and she's like, how the hell do I get onto the radio in this? So I showed her on the screen how to do it, and then it brought up the list of all the DAB radio stations, and I couldn't believe there is now an absolute tens. So I think, absolute 70s, absolute
Right.
80s,
Yeah.
absolute 90s. But we've now reached the point where, and I looked it up, it's relatively recently launched, we now have absolute tens because
Kinda
people
makes
have
sense.
nostalgia.
That's just Radio 1.
No, it's not. That's the problem. That's Radio 2, if that, these days, right? It's horrendous. And I just looked at that and I was like, that is so messed up. But then when I began to think about it, I was like, to be fair, I remember listening to 80s radio stations in the car as a child. So I would have been listening to 80s nostalgia radio stations in like 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose by that logic, 10s radio is actually not even that close.
Yeah.
Scary.
I just want to say, I feel like I'm nearly middle-aged, not quite there, but I'm getting there. And I'm still too young for the stuff in mixtape. I'm throwing it way, way back. Do you remember mixtape from a few months back?
Yeah.
I find it so weird how I'm nearly middle-aged. I'm still too young to have nostalgia for whatever is happening in that game. That is so strange to me. We gotta stop letting 50-year-olds have any sort of.
I think it just about worked for me. Mixtape.
Like you just.
It's a weird list, that soundtrack. It's a good list, but it is a weird list. There's stuff in there.
You could just put Stan Bush on it, and it's fine. I'm there. Like the touch is on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, 10 out of 10 game.
I'm not saying bad game. I'm not saying bad game. I'm just saying it wants to evoke nostalgia for a time period that you have to be way older than the average gamer to enjoy.
I just didn't. I didn't even feel like it was trying to. I wasn't tapping into nostalgia as such. I just felt that it did a good job at making the people in it feel like they were having a good time, and I wasn't nostalgic. I never went to bloody house parties or when with my mates, we just used to ride bikes down one alley, down a street, and round one mini roundabout. That's all we did as kids. So I'm not nostalgic what happened in that, but I did feel like they did a good job of making the people in it work with the soundtrack. But yeah,
that's the thing. I still need to play a mixtape, but I always got the impression it was not trying to evoke everyone's nostalgia, but trying to convey the devs' nostalgia for that era. So, but I do need to play it because I do think some 90s nostalgia is coming up a little bit. Like Lost Records last year was another one that was very, very mid 90s. And mostly I'm still, as you say, just a little bit too young for that to be my era of teen nostalgia. But it is kind of nice to see the 90s coming in a little bit. But I think you are right. I think they're getting squeezed out between the very long tail of 80s nostalgia and the fact that early 2000s is coming in hot.
I had very similar feelings about the first Super Mario movie, Super Mario, because it has songs like I Need a Hero and stuff. And I said to my friend, I was like, why are all these songs so old? And he was like, you need something for the parents. I was like, brother, you're a parent.
Right.
This is the age of the parents. If you're taking a 10-year-old to the film, it's people in their mid-30s who are taking those kids.
Yes.
We're still too young for these songs.
Our teen bands are the dad bands now.
What?
And that's scary.
I'm going to kick back on that specific example.
Yes,
just
because
a
you're
touch. It's not because I'm old. It's because, Holding Out for a Hero that's a song that had two lives. It had a life in the 80s, and then it had a very different life in the 2000s.
Because of Shrek.
Because of Shrek. Yeah, because of Shrek.
Yeah.
And so there's a second wave of nostalgia for that song.
it's the best moment in any film ever.
Aha, Take On Me, later, where it still annoys me. They cut out. So if you go and listen to the soundtrack of the Mario movie, there's a big difference where it's clear they always had a needle drop where they play Holding Out for a Hero because there's no written scored music for that. But the Donkey Kong arrival at the Kong area and they go on the cart and ride. He had the composer Brian Tyler had scored that with a beautiful, amazing arrangement of the Donkey Kong Country theme, and it's on the soundtrack. And they obviously just dropped Aha over the top of it, which is a disgrace. And that was the one where you can tell someone with a clipboard went, "It's been too long since a pop culture reference." I go, we'll put Aha over this sequence. Thankfully, they did a lot less of that in Mario 2. They had Notorious B.I.G. of all things when Yoshi's walking through New York, but I think, is that the only one?
I think it was mostly video gamey remixes and inspired orchestral mixes, which were very good, by the way.
Obviously, yeah, and Luigi sings That's Amore, but I think that's it, right? Anyway, yeah, that is.
Sorry,
Holding Out for a Hero, I
sidetracked
will
us.
defend. No, I will defend Holding Out for a
Are we
Hero.
agreeing Shrek 2 is the best film ever made?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I do remember the ending being really good.
The end of Shrek 2 with the gingerbread man. I mean,
Joanna
I don't
Lumley
want to say
hamming it
more
up.
than that. I'll get too emotional.
Where is it on the spectrum?
Right at the top. It's
and
the best.
product.
Oh, shit.
It's a proper art.
I
Shrek
think,
2.
but this actually, I think, Shrek 2 is more on the art end, and now you've got this Shrek, you've got this tie art, right? But you're at Shrek 5, and that's going to be fully on the product end.
You see, the spectrum's important. It works for everything.
Franchises travel along the spectrum.
They do.
And then
They
sometimes
definitely
you get a
do.
franchise that
Sometimes it bounces.
Well, James Bond is one that has done that and then bounced back on a few occasions. So like it went like that pretty much from Sean Connery, bounces back with Lazenby, and then goes all the way all through more, and then bounces. So often actually, I suppose it resets with each Bond, except Daniel Craig's kept it quite on the art level for the whole run. Anyway, we have kept people more than long enough. So that is it from us this week, except for, of course, if you're one of our backers on Patreon, we'll have a little bit of an after hours chat where we're going to talk about really exciting stuff, which is exclusive and secret. You can obviously support us, respec.net for the website to read the website. You can hit the link there to get to our Patreon, to get to our YouTube, to get to our social media channels. We're just starting out. Every follow helps. And of course, you can also go directly to patreon.com/respecnet, RESPECNET, to support us directly, which helps us, gives you a very warm, fuzzy feeling inside, and gets you, as I said, some bonus content. And we're working on even more bonus stuff at the minute. We're just spinning that up, but you can expect more than just the extra podcasts in the future and in the coming weeks. So with all that said, Rebecca, Breens, you got anything you want to plug or anything?
You should read One Piece.
I have been told by my podcast co-host that my mic cut out during my podcast plug in the last episode. So I will repeat that every 2 weeks. You can hear me on indieventurepodcast.co.uk if you want to hear people talk about indie games and get way overexcited about indie games and go on massive tangents. So there you go. Indieventurepodcast.co.uk. I just keep saying it so my mic doesn't cut out this time.
That's why I said it as well. I was like, then we got it. Indie Venture Podcast.
Indie Venture.
What's that? The Indie Venture Podcast?
Thank you. Tom's not going to do it. Tom's going to be the one who won't do it.
I don't get drawn into these peer pressure things.
It's not peer pressure. It's just a friendly peer suggestion.
What was it called again?
indieventurepodcast.co.uk. Sorry, I got to say it again, so don't matter.
Could be worse. It could be worse. Whenever Christian goes on VGC, we all deliberately mispronounce the name of his show.
Oh, well, it was really sweet. One of my co-hosts got married last year, and in his dad's speech at the wedding, he repeatedly referred to the podcast as the Indie Adventure Podcast, which we thought was so lovely.
Sweet. But imagine there's another podcast out there that was getting your referrals from that wedding.
Possibly, quite possibly. I was
all
like,
the aunts and uncles.
I was kind of like, do we get like a different? Do we get that domain name just to make sure? Should probably do that.
Yes. With that, then, everyone, we will see you next week. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Tom, Rebecca, Breens. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Till next time. See ya.